Going, everyone? My name is George, and today we are going to take a little break from reviewing Universe and Harry Potter films and reviewing a film that is becoming the subject of video memes lately. Movie that came out 15 years ago that was part of my childhood as far as movie theater experiences go. A movie that, while the franchise has not had a smooth run, the first film 15 years later still holds a special place in my heart, and I still like a lot all these years later. That is Transformers, the 2007 live action film directed by Michael Bay, starring Shia LaBeouf, Megan Fox, Josh Duhamel, Tyrese Gibson, John Turturro, Anthony Anderson. And for those of you who may not know, I was a big Transformers fan growing up. I still like Transformers, but I was really obsessed with Transformers growing up as a kid. Like, I would buy all the figures, I would watch all the cartoons from like the 80s cartoon on reruns to the Unicron trilogy, which was very popular when I was a kid. That was like when Transformers was like really embraced being an anime back on Cartoon Network, on Toonami, Transformers Armada, Energon, Cybertron. And I bought a lot of those toys, and I obviously bought the movie toys as well. But yeah, I was so much into Transformers. That was like the one thing I would collect a lot of as a kid and even as a teenager. And when I heard there was a movie coming out, like I was so excited, especially a live action movie, like live action Transformers. That'd be cool to see. And I didn't really know much about Michael Bay at the time. I didn't watch Michael Bay movies as a kid. Like as a teenager and young adult, I would learn more about his movies. And I will admit, nowadays we think of Michael Bay as this not so good director, but his early work, like The Rock, Bad Boys, even Armageddon, I enjoy those movies. To me, The Rock is probably one of my favorite action movies ever, probably one of the best action movies ever. Very underrated film with Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery. And with his film with Transformers, he didn't even want to make this film. I think Steven Spielberg had to persuade him to make this movie. Like, obviously, he had his own conditions, such as having a strong military involvement in this film. But with Transformers, this is basically the film, the one film of the Transformers franchise where you really feel the presence of Steven Spielberg as a producer. Basically, the story of a boy bonding with an alien is who he thought at first was this car that he bought, but it's really this transformer named Bumblebee. And really, you get the feels of a Spielberg movie in this film. Now, this isn't a perfect movie by any means. Like, you still have some of that Michael Bay humor that might sometimes annoy you. But honestly, compared to the other Transformers films, this is the film where the Michael Bay humor is much more controlled and actually still funny. Like, this is, in my opinion, the funniest of the Transformers movies. The humor in this film actually is humorous. Like, obviously, the scenes with Anthony Anderson, like the scene where the FBI breaks into his house, that's still very hilarious. Some of the scenes with Shia LaBeouf's character Sam Witwicky, those are hilarious as well. Some of the lines some of the Transformers give, particularly when like Ironhide wants to like kill the parents. And speaking of the parents, Sam Witwicky's parents, this is like the one film where they're actually funny and not annoying. Like that's basically like this is a calm, tame film for Michael Bay standards. Like the humor is funny, the characters aren't that annoying. Like this is probably the most tolerable the human characters are in this film. Now again, this is a Transformers movie. We want to see the Transformers. We don't want to waste too much time on these human characters. So yeah, I understand the frustration that we're wasting time on these human characters. But in fairness, you gotta set up the plot. You gotta set up the humans meeting the Transformers. So the setup is very good in this film. And when the Transformers come, the Autobots come, it's very impactful. The score is very epic. And I used to think it was Hans Zimmer who did the score. It wasn't, but it's still a fantastic score, very epic score. Now, I love the scene where the Autobots are coming to Earth and they're transforming, very epic. And like the child inside me, the 10-year-old inside me when this film came out was just in amazement. I just love that scene to this day. And the Autobots themselves, like I'll be honest, the Transformer designs, at least for like the first 5 live action movies, aren't really the smoothest, but honestly, with the Michael Bay films, not including Bumblebee, because the designs in Bumblebee are great, and when I eventually do review Bumblebee, I'll get more into that with that film. But the designs here, honestly, compared to the future Transformer movies, are pretty good in my opinion. I like the designs quite a bit. I get it. You're not going to be G1 accurate like let's say Bumblebee was, or even War for Cybertron. Although War for Cybertron wasn't even a thing, the video game, when this movie came out. But yeah, it's great to see the Transformers. And I find it pretty interesting that Michael Bay's approach with the Decepticons, the vehicles that most of the Decepticons disguise themselves as, like they're more military themed, where the Autobots are more civilian themed, like vehicles. I don't know. I find that a very interesting choice with the Transformers. And as far as the human characters go, the acting, to me, my favorite characters in these live action Transformer movies are Josh Duhamel and Tyrese Gibson's characters, Lennox and Epps. They're two of the military guys. And to me, I just always found them to be the only characters in these movies that never bugged me. I always found them to be interesting. I always wish they were the main human focused characters in these movies. But I will say for this film, Shia LaBeouf as Sam Witwicky, and I know recently Shia LaBeouf, he's been under a lot of scrutiny, and there's obviously that new controversy between him and Olivia Wilde, and again, his own personal controversies. But in this film, I actually like Shia LaBeouf a lot as Sam Witwicky in this film. I think he actually gave a pretty good performance overall in this film. It's really the second film that this character starts to annoy me, but I like Shia LaBeouf's performance as Sam Witwicky in this film. And oh yeah, we can't forget the late great Bernie Mac is in this film. The car salesman, he's funny. Megan Fox is in this film as Michaela Baines, Sam's love interest, and I don't think Megan Fox gave a terrible performance overall. Like looking back, compared to some of the other actors in this film, her performance isn't as strong. But I would say, like honestly, like her performance has, I think, aged a little bit better overall. Honestly, I feel like in these Transformer movies that she's in, I don't find her performance to be as bad as I used to back then. Maybe it's due to the fact that her replacement in Dark of the Moon wasn't all that great, and I've learned to appreciate having Megan Fox in the first two Transformer movies more. I don't know. But, like, I didn't mind Megan Fox's character, Michaela Baines, in this film. Like, as much as I may have used to, like, back in the early days when this movie, like, had came out and I was watching it a lot more. John Turturro is also at his least annoying in this film. He's another character that will later become annoying in these movies. But honestly, I didn't mind his character as much in this film as well. As I previously said, Anthony Anderson is hilarious in this film. I wish he was in the other movies as well. This was a human character that was meant for comedic relief that actually was funny. So he was funny. The action's great. I love seeing the action when the Autobots are duking out. Even when the humans are facing off against the Decepticons, like I find that to be pretty fun, enjoyable action, especially when they're like the Decepticons are attacking them at these military bases or in the desert. Like those fight scenes are really cool. Visually, like 15 years, like this film came out 15 years ago in 2007. The visuals still hold up very well. And honestly, like I find the visuals in this film to be better than the last two Transformer movies. I personally find it to be like maybe the visuals in Age of Extinction and Last Night, like they might be more colorful and vibrant, but I feel like the visual work they put more effort. I feel like in this first film than they did in those last two Transformer movies. And basically, you see that this is the film that they actually put a lot of effort, where you actually saw Michael Bay tried to care. Like, I'm not saying he didn't care, but compared to the other films, this I feel like was the one time he did care. Dark of the Moon, I felt like he did care more than he did the other sequels, but this is the film where I feel like he really did care. And obviously with the Autobots, I'm not going to get into all the voice actors. I'll get into the main ones. Peter Cullen from the 1980s cartoon, from the 1986 cartoon Transformers movie. He's voicing Optimus Prime again, and he is still fantastic as always. Even in like the bad Transformer movies, Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime is always a bright spot, especially when he gives that iconic line, "One shall stand, one shall fall." Very iconic. I love hearing Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime. Hugo Weaving is voicing Megatron in this film, not Frank Welker, who voiced him in the 80s cartoon alongside Peter Cullen. And Hugo Weaving, I actually think, did a pretty good job voicing Megatron. Now, I still prefer Frank Welker. His Megatron voice is iconic, and it's ironic. His other iconic voice is Fred Jones from Scooby Doo. But anyways, back to Hugo Weaving. Hugo Weaving, I think, still gives a great voice performance as Megatron. Although Megatron's not that prominent in this film. I wish he was more prominent. And that's kind of always been my concern with the live action Transformer movies. It feels like Megatron's never shown enough, or like even when he is present, he's never really the main villain except maybe this film. I don't know, I feel like Megatron has kind of been neglected in these live action Transformer films as a character. I mean, you can say that for a lot of the Transformer characters, but at least you can say like Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, the main Autobot heroes, they always are always in the spotlight of these Transformer movies. But again, I just wish that Megatron, Starscream, like some of the Decepticons could have been treated better. Like I give it a pass in this film because you're setting up a lot. You're trying to build the Transformer film franchise, and again, a character like Starscream did survive in this film, and obviously Megatron's not going to stay dead forever. They're going to find a way to bring him back, whether as Galvatron or as a new version of Megatron. But it just felt like in the sequels they never really used that potential. But I'm not going to hold what the sequels failed to do against this film, because this film still does everything else right, in my opinion, for a first live action Transformers film. The ending song, which has become a meme, What I've Done from Linkin Park. This was the song that introduced me to Linkin Park. It fits the ending of this movie. I love it. I love the ending as well when Optimus Prime gives one of his iconic speeches. And overall, I just love this film. It's not a great film, I will admit, but it's an enjoyable film. This is to me what a summer blockbuster film that doesn't have to be all that great can be. A fun roller coaster of a ride. The performances overall weren't bad. Like again, the only two that I think did stand out a bit more were Josh Duhamel and Tyrese Gibson's performances. And Shia LaBeouf as Samuel Wiki I thought was very good in this film. But again, the humor was actually funny in this film. The action was great. The visuals are great. It's still a blast to see my favorite characters growing up on the big screen for the first time in live action. And the score is iconic. Yeah, I still like this film a lot. And I wish the other films lived up to the potential. Like, in all honesty, with the Michael Bay sequels, I will eventually review all these, but not like right away. Maybe next year when the next Transformers film comes out, and I'll share more of my thoughts. But just to give a summary of how I felt about those films, the only sequel that I thought was okay, at least decent, rewatchable, was Dark of the Moon. Revenge of the Fallen is a guilty pleasure. Like, it's so bad, it's funny, and I'll get into that later down the road. But the last two were just very messy. Bumblebee, the one live action film not directed by Michael Bay, I thought was very good. But yeah, overall, this to me is still probably my favorite live action Transformers film. And I'll give Transformers 2007 a B plus. And I think it's worth a rewatch. And I'm glad that people are appreciating this film a lot more now, even though the sequels did not turn out to be all that great. But yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on Transformers? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Is it your favorite Transformers movie or live action Transformers movie? Um, Let me know your thoughts down below, and I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe already if you haven't. Please share this with someone that loves the Transformers movies, and I hope to see you guys real soon. And coming up on this channel, I do have a stream coming up tomorrow. I'm looking forward to doing that, my first ever solo stream. And I got reviews on Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban and Jay and Silent Bob Reboot to look forward to for next week. So take care, everyone.